Convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. It's approximately 10:06 a.m. I'm Jordan Maynard. I'm serving as chair. It's meeting number 562. If I didn't mention that already, we're holding this virtually, so we will do a roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning, I'm here.
And good morning, Commissioner Broder.
Good morning, I am here.
Commissioner Skinner is unavailable today. With that, Secretary Broder, we have some meeting minutes.
Indeed, Mr. Chairman, we have 4 sets that will be taken up in 2 separate tranches. The first one will be before you presently. So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Commission approve the minutes from the following public meetings: June 3rd, 2024, September 11th, 2024, and October 2nd, 2024, that are included in the agenda packet for today's meeting, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Abstain?
And I vote yes. 3 and 1 abstention.
All right, and one more, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Commission approve the minutes from the public meeting held on July 21st, 2025. Those are included in the agenda packet for today's meeting and subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes. 4-0. All right. Thank you, Secretary Broder, and thank you to Team Legal as always. With that, I believe we're at item number 3, and we're going to kick it over to the Executive Director, Dean Serpa. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, and good morning, Commissioners. I do have 2 quick updates for us this morning. The first is a really anticipated one. I wanted to mention to you all that we are joined for the first time today, at least on the screen, by our new Division Chief for Human Resources, Kathleen Buckley. She started earlier last month, August 18th. And since then, I know she's been meeting with some of you and a good number of our senior managers and many of our staff to learn as much as she can about the agency and our needs. She's been integrating well. And I just wanted to say that I've already seen in meetings I've been in with her, Kathleen has already impacted our operation, adding a very professional and seasoned perspective to the whichever topic it is that we're endeavoring on. I'm very much looking forward to working with her. I know you all do as well, and I just wanted to welcome her and wish her the best for being with us.
Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you for the warm welcome. I'm really excited to be here. You've got a lot of talented employees. Happy to be here. And
then secondly, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to remind everybody on the screen, everybody who's listening, that September is Responsible Gaming Education Month. And I know that Mark is going to update us on some of the activities associated with that. And I'll turn it over to Mark right now.
Great. Thank you. Yes, September, as every year, is Responsible Gaming Education Month, or RGEM for short. It's an initiative that was originally launched by the American Gaming Association, but is really carried out by a range of different stakeholders invested in, passionate about this issue, including advocacy groups, commissions around the country, other state government agencies, and of course the gaming industry itself. Activities around Responsible Gaming Education Month tend to focus on promoting gambling literacy, consumer education, and employee training. Massachusetts always charts our own path in this space, and it's no different this year. September's RGM campaign will drive Play My Way signups. Can't see it, but I have my Play My Way shirt on. Through tabling, quizzes, front of house and back of house initiatives, and as well as Patriot tickets as a prize. This is amplified by digital signage, social media assets, earned media, and targeted emails, and promoting gambling literacy through the theme Set a Limit and Stick to It, which is obviously a core principle of responsible gaming. Also, I just want to highlight the research that supports this. Embedded in the Commission's mission is the goal to maximize consumer protections, minimize negative impacts, and promote responsible gaming through regulation, research, and informed policy making. The backbone of this is a robust and focused research program that's carried out by the Commission. Two key goals of the research program include informed strategies, practices, and policies for responsible gaming and problem gambling prevention and treatment, as well as evaluating responsible gaming initiatives developed by the MGC for effectiveness. Past and present Commission research has delved into questions of great importance related to these goals, and I think our track record is evidence of this commitment. Reports have included in the past a comprehensive evaluation of the GameSense program, an early evaluation of the voluntary self-exclusion program, an exploration of gambling availability and its effects on persons in recovery, population-based studies that have identified groups at greater risk of gambling-related harms, and a cohort study to better understand how gambling and problem gambling develops, progresses, and remits over time. Looking ahead to our research agenda, we're currently have a number of studies underway, including a study of current and possible uses of artificial intelligence in the gambling industry with a particular focus on marketing, player acquisition, gaming industry, and responsible gaming initiatives. An updated evaluation of the voluntary self-exclusion program following the introduction of sports wagering, a study of positive play, a study examining responsible gaming tool usage and how to encourage better uptake, and finally, a study of VIP programs with a focus on reducing gambling-related risk. This is a huge undertaking of the Commission, and it can't be done without the Commission's guidance and direction on this. So first of all, a huge thank you to each commissioner who, in your own ways, have really pushed both responsible gaming and the supporting research agenda forward. It also can't be done without the GameSense advisors who, day in and day out, are available through live chat and available at each one of our casinos. They're incredibly talented, incredibly committed to the cause that we're talking about today. Thanks to the operators who, each of them, every single one of them, sports wagering operators as well as casino operators, are also committed to Responsible Gaming Education Month, day in and day out. To the research teams that carry out this research, there aren't many researchers in this field for a variety of different reasons, but the talent is deep. And finally, to my team, I see Long Dan, his commitment and dedication to this, his talents have really, really shown, and the Commission really appreciates that, as well as Bonnie Andrews, helping to guide the research and now helping to guide the responsible gaming efforts of the Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Vanderlinden. And we know it's supposed to be a fun time to highlight these issues and make sure that people know what resources are available. And I will say that I don't look good in a hat, but I have my Play My Way hat here. There's just some things the public needs to let me keep private. I'll put that on after the meeting, but look forward to celebrating.
Thank you. I had a special note to mention the hats that were as one of the giveaways through the month. It was in my notes and I forgot to mention it. So thank you. Thank you.
I will hold until we get midway through the Patriot season, whether or not those tickets are a gift or a good good get or a bad get. We're going to figure that out. All right. Thank you, Director Van der Linden. Anything else, ED Serpa?
Nope, that's it for me today.
All right. With that, we are going to go ahead and stick with Director Van der Linden. I believe that we have a presentation of a report and some deliverables.
That's right. I think I'm turning it over to Dr. Andrews here for the first part of that.
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Andrews.
Good morning. I'm really excited to present the researchers who are here today. So the Expanded Gaming Act enshrines the role of research in understanding the social and economic effects and mitigating the negative consequences of casino gambling in Massachusetts. To this end, with the advice of the Gaming Policy Advisory Committee, the Commission is charged with carrying out an annual research agenda to comprehensively assess the impacts of casino gambling in Massachusetts. Specifically, Mass General Laws, Chapter 23K, Section 71, directs the research agenda to examine the social and economic effects of expanded gambling and to obtain scientific information relative to the neuroscience, psychology, sociology, epidemiology, and etiology of gambling. Mass General Laws, Chapter 23N, Section 23, further expands this research agenda to encompass sports wagering. To fulfill this broad statutory mandate, the Commission identified 8 key areas of research: social, economic, public safety, the Massachusetts Gambling Impact Cohort Study, data sharing, sports wagering, responsible gaming program evaluation, and community engaged research. The objective of community engaged research is to understand and address the impact of casino gambling and sports wagering in Massachusetts communities. The specific research topic or question is developed by the community through a community-driven process. The Commission funded NORC at the University of Chicago in partnership with Gemini Research in 2023 to increase understanding of sports betting among young adults in Massachusetts. The studies used a community-engaged research approach to understand the social and public health impacts of legalized sports betting among young adults and the young adults in the age group ages 18 to 25 in Massachusetts. Here to present findings from the first 2 years of the study are Petri Ubri, Senior Research Scientist, and Jared Sawyer, Data Scientist from NORC at the University of Chicago. We're really happy to have them here today to tell you more, and now I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Hi, everyone. I'm Jared Sawyer with NORC at the University of Chicago. I'm here with my colleague Petri today. Just wanted to quickly thank you all so much for letting us have this opportunity to share some of our preliminary findings today. Awesome. Thank you so much, Petri. Awesome. So diving in, we're here to share some of our preliminary findings, as Bonnie mentioned, on our study on sports betting among young adults in Massachusetts. Petri, you can go to the next slide. Beginning with our study overview and background, next slide. The impetus for this study was really the legalization of sports betting in Massachusetts at the end of 2022, in the beginning of 2023, coupled with understanding of increasing levels of sports betting following legalization and a recent uptick in the amount of young adults that are participating in sports betting. A 2023 national NCAA study found that 58% of 18 to 22-year-olds were participating in sports betting, including 70% of students on college campuses. Next slide, Petri. With these two things in mind, and with the dearth of research specifically focused on young adults in Massachusetts, the MGC funded us to conduct a community-engaged research study to assess that social, economic, and health impact of the legalization of sports betting among young adults in Massachusetts. This included understanding their perspectives and attitudes, as well as the impacts, including any policies or programs that may mitigate any discovered negative effects or support the well-being of young adults participating in sports betting post-legalization. Next slide, please. I want to quickly mention that this study builds on prior MGC-funded research, in particular, the social and economic impacts of gambling in Massachusetts study, the SIGMA study. That second bullet highlights that it found that sports bettors in Massachusetts tend to be under the age of 35 when compared to other forms of gamblers in Massachusetts. And coupled with this, the study also builds upon NORC's previous study on the Encore Community Perspectives study that was a community-engaged research approach and iterated and built upon the methods used in that community-engaged research approach to design this study. Next slide, Petri. Really quickly giving an overview of the methods we used for the study. Petri, you can go to the next slide. The core foundation of this study was our community engaged research framework. And core to that community engaged research framework was a community advisory board made up of members of the Massachusetts community, including mostly made up of young adults. That community advisory board was really important for us to help us co-develop all of our research questions, our study design, as well as our study materials, including our interview guides. All of this was done collaboratively with our community advisory board. And in addition to that community advisory board, we also recruited and trained 2 young adults in Massachusetts to help us lead all of our interviews with any other young adult in the state. We hope that these young adults would offer a more peer-to-peer discussion and make it more comfortable for young adults to discuss commonly stigmatized topics such as gambling or sports betting or mental health. In addition to that, as part of our community engaged research approach, we conducted a participatory analysis with all of our initial themes and findings with our CAB and with our community interviewers to understand our findings within the nuance and context they provided. Next slide, Petri. This graph really quickly highlights the diversity of thought that was present among our CAB. While a majority of our CAB did believe that the legalization of sports betting would have some impact on increasing problem gambling among young adults, across a lot of the other potential impacts or effects of legalization, there were a lot of mixed perspectives among our CAB, which was really crucial to getting our study designed correctly and reaching all sorts of young adults that are participating in sports betting. Next slide. Looking at the data collection efforts for the study, there were 2 key parts. The first of which was a formative key informant interview approach, where we interviewed sports betting vendors licensed in Massachusetts, as well as subject matter experts. And then the second part that came after were young adult semi-structured interviews with young adults ages 18 to 25 that lived in Massachusetts. Next slide, Petri. Looking at our key informant interviews on the next slide, Petri, we ended up conducting a total of 13 key informant interviews with vendors and subject matter experts. There were 8 sports betting vendors that we ended up interviewing, as well as 5 subject matter experts. There was a mix of local Massachusetts as well as national expertise that really helped us understand a holistic picture of what sports betting in Massachusetts among young adults might look like. Next slide. Looking at our community interviews, so that second part that was informed by those formative key informant interviews, we ended up interviewing 39 young adults. A majority of those, 70%, had previously bet on sports. There was about 50% of young adults ages 20 to 21 to 25, and 50% ages 18 to 20. 62% identified as white, and 56% identified as female. Next slide, Petri. Part of our recruitment approach were to recruit young adults across the state. We do have representation looking at this map from every single region in Massachusetts. However, there is a clustering in the Northeast and Metro West regions. Across our 39 young adult participants, we did have 22 cities represented, which is great for the depth and breadth of our perspectives included in this study. Next slide, Petri. Before I pass it over to my colleague to dive into some of our preliminary results, I really quickly want to just highlight some of the strengths and limitations of this interview-based approach. While these interviews are really phenomenal at offering an in-depth and contextualized understanding of the impacts of legalization of sports betting among young adults, I want to quickly highlight that these results are not necessarily generalizable to all other contexts in Massachusetts, nor are they necessarily representative of all young adults in Massachusetts. And now I will pass it over to my colleague Petri to dive into the findings.
Great, thank you, Jared. So I'd like to start discussing preliminary findings. I'll highlight that there are a lot of words in this presentation, so you all do have access to this presentation if you'd like to kind of dig into the findings a little bit more, but we'll go through it at a high level just in the interest of time here today. Because this is qualitative research, they're not necessarily quantifiable based on percentages, but we just wanted to provide some context when we use words, particularly related to the 39 interviews with young adults. Few, several, some, many, most, just wanted to give you a sense of what that might consist of from a percentage basis. But as I noted, it's qualitative research, so we need to hedge our language a little bit and not include exact percentages. We'll start with some preliminary findings related to young adult views on sports betting and betting behaviors. We found that these perspectives were mixed. Some held positive views and negative views. Some thought sports betting is okay in moderation, thinking that it bolsters social connectedness, increases engagement with sporting events, and can generate income for the state. But they did also see that it could be harmful in excess if it promotes addiction or can lead to mental health challenges or financial loss. There were a few young adults that felt neutral about sports betting overall. We also found that the most young adults that we spoke to engage in sports betting infrequently, noted that they wager less than $10. They bet casually. It's every few months to once a year. The standard bets might range from 50 cents to $10 and tend to happen mainly during major events like the Super Bowl or March Madness. And that engagement is generally motivated by friends or family or others, their peers that are also engaging in betting and kind of promote that for their peers as well. Some of our participants did bet more frequently, particularly during specific seasons like the NFL or the NBA season, but they noted that they do not increase the amount that they bet during these seasons. It might still range between 50 cents and $10. There were a few that did note they bet at least once per week and they wager more than $50. And those standard bets can range from $50 to $100. We also found that the majority of young adults that we spoke to who bet on sports use online platforms. And they also bet on a range of sports from football to basketball, but it could include also baseball, hockey, MMA, UFC, soccer, etc. As I noted in the previous slide, it might vary by season, but during kind of major events like Super Bowl, Olympics, World Cup, there might be an increase in engaging in betting. And they also use mainly online and mobile platforms like DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, etc. They choose apps based on promotions that they see that come across in their feed. And some use informal bets with friends, or some use bookies in order to engage in betting. Young adults also engage in other gambling-related activities. The ones we mainly heard were things like online poker and other popular activities that include things like fantasy sports, where fantasy football in particular seemed to be of growing interest. And that could range from less frequent to going, for example, in person to a casino on a special occasion and engaging in gambling there, and more frequently during kind of fantasy football season than gambling pretty often, as evident by the quotes here. Many participants, and this includes both our interviews with vendors and the young adults, they believe that sports betting attract individuals who identify as male, who are young adults, who are college students, and in particular as well college athletes. There are these perceptions that individuals who identify as male might be more into sports, that ads might resonate more closely with young adults, and that sports betting may be more prevalent on campus, particularly among college athletes. They were also acknowledged that sports betting was happening prior to its legalization, and that despite these age restrictions in Massachusetts of age 21, that some 18 to 20-year-olds are still engaging in sports betting, and they find loopholes if they are underage, things like traveling to other states, using parents' names, fake IDs, VPNs, or offshore betting websites or bookies. Just during our screener, we did have a brief screener with our participants and found that all of the male identifying participants reported they had previously bet on sports, compared to 50% of the female identifying participants in our sample, as well as 68% of the underage young adult participants that we spoke to noted that they had previously bet on sports. We dug into advertisements a little bit more and found that both experts and young adults feel that advertising is targeting young adults primarily through things like social media platforms, mobile apps, podcasts, etc. But you could see here that there's a broad range of mediums through which they report encountering advertisements, including TV ads, especially while watching sports. And both male and female young adult participants feel like the ads are targeting young adults, sport enthusiasts, as they called it, and men, noting that include more people who are young men, use bolder colors, use celebrities and influencers to promote sports betting, seeing in person kind of at major sporting events or festivals, and to encourage people to sign up in person. But the KII participants, meaning like the vendors and the subject matter experts, were more split on whether communications were focused on young adults, but the young adults themselves seemed to think that they were a main focus of these advertisements. Participants also described what they call the campus culture and word of mouth that really was promoting sports betting. And so while they were not seeing direct ads on campus, there was a lot of peer-to-peer word of mouth that was kind of making its way around campus culture. And so friends or peers might discuss sports betting, encourage each other to bet on sports. And there's just a lot of online platforms in college campus culture. And so being online more, promoting that kind of access to exposure to sports betting. Young adults also noted that the bonus bets promotions, what they called quote unquote free money, was really encouraging first-time users accounts because they felt like lower stake bets. They felt like some of these apps, people under 21 were using apps like Flip, for example, as an entry into gambling. They also noted that the accessibility of sports betting on phone apps and mobile applications was really making it easier to gamble and normalizing gambling. They also noted that they see more advertisements when game days are coming or viral posts on that might not be disclosed as gambling ads, but might include some sort of promotion related to gambling that young adults were being exposed to. In discussing the impacts of sports betting, they felt that the legalization of sports betting had increased awareness about sports betting. And so while it was occurring and there was awareness about it prior to legalization, its legalization and just increased kind of proliferation of advertisement in particular had increased awareness, as well as word of mouth. There was mixed level of awareness among the young adults that we spoke to around the age restrictions. Some were not sure, and this was between the mix of folks who had betted or those who were non-bettors, whether or not they were aware of that 21 age restriction for sports betting. Individuals also believe that legalization of sports betting led to an increase in access and participation, particularly, as I noted previously, among young people, athletes, young men. They noted again that phone apps and online betting increased the accessibility and frequency of sports betting and also helped normalize sports betting because people were just being exposed to it more and talking about it more. They noted that some of the positive impacts of sports betting was that social engagement piece. It brings people together. They are having more engagement with sports themselves because they have a stake in the outcomes, and it's just promoting bonding and connecting over sports. They acknowledge that it provides the state with revenue to reinvest back into the local economy, that it steers people away from this kind of sports betting black market. As some, I noted earlier in the slide, some people were noting that betting was happening even prior to legalization. So this provides an avenue that's more regulated and protected through legal avenues. That all this online sports betting could provide an avenue through which there could be data to understand gambling habits, particularly among young adults. And that normalization of sports betting can reduce stigma and provide more opportunities for conversation around responsible gambling. They did note some negative impacts as well, noting that young adults believe they were wasting money when they are betting, but the ones that we spoke to didn't think this was happening to the extent of financial ruin for the most part. But they did note that it could, sports betting made it easier to accrue debt, that payment options, they could use different lines of credit versus cash, which kind of could feel like easier money to spend. And just the instant and constant nature of online betting and just having it available in your pocket at all times could increase high volume bet placement or just the frequency and speed of online betting. And that overall, they acknowledge money loss can increase disappointment, anger, frustration, and stress. They also recognize the risk for problem gambling, noted that it could lead to issues with family or friends, issues with relationships, that the relative newness of online sports betting means there might be kind of limited infrastructure to detect problem betting or younger bettors. And that normalization of sports betting as an everyday activity can increase the risk of problem gambling. But the young adults we spoke to also noted they thought they and their friends did gamble responsibly. They also asked around mitigation of harm, noted that some young adults were aware of available resources and programs, but some were not. So it was mixed awareness there. But for the most part, those that were aware noted it was limited to disclaimers and helplines, kind of that are noted really quickly in advertisements, but that they really didn't know where to go to reach out for help if they needed it. And most young adults believe that the responsibility for mitigating potential harms lie with multiple entities. The government and kind of vendors were the most commonly cited entities as needing kind of interventions to help support to mitigate the potential risk, but also just overall community, individuals, colleges and universities came up as well as potential entities for mitigation of harm. They recommended some vendor initiatives that could potentially help, noting that they could include in the apps themselves as people are sports betting, either disclaimers, warnings, or other features that could limit loss and also provide resources to individuals. And as I noted previously, that this kind of online proliferation of online betting could result in more data that can help individuals and policymakers, researchers investigate and document how people engage in sports betting. They also noted the need for policies and regulations that provided more oversight to vendors, particularly around advertisements, and making sure that it's not targeted towards young adults, underage sports bettors, etc. They also overall recommended increasing the number and promotion of resources to support sports bettors and people experiencing problem gambling, and making sure those are available everywhere, particularly where individuals kind of tend to be available on college campuses, etc. The need for public educational initiatives to increase awareness and education about sports betting, that these could be kind of similar to anti-smoking campaigns, like public educational announcements, PSAs, etc. And some of the experts we spoke to noted kind of this framework of prevention, education, treatment, enforcement, and research to make sure that initiatives kind of hit each one of those areas. And as I noted in the prior slide, restricting and regulating vendor ads on sports betting as well. This just briefly sums up our kind of what we've discussed today, that overall young adults are engaging in sports betting and it is becoming increasingly normalized. There are concerns about the frequency of betting, its speed, the types of bet sizes, particularly on online platforms that make access available 24/7. And that is, sports betting is fast-paced, ever-evolving, which can make it difficult to evaluate, but can also provide avenues for additional sources of data to understand what interventions are needed. The young adults do not seem to view sports betting as gambling. There seems to be kind of a distinction in their minds around like sports bet, but that's not necessarily the same as gambling. So there might need to be more sports betting specific resources or strengthening that identification or connection between sports betting and gambling. Advertising is prevalent, particularly among males and young adults. They seem to think those are the focus of advertising, and that policies and regulations are needed around ads. And as I noted, that initiatives should focus to hit all of the areas of prevention, education, treatment, enforcement, and research. Finally, just acknowledging we still have one more year of the project, so we're going to do continued engagement with the CAB, additional data collection, interviews with adult mentors like college counselors and others that interact with young adults, as well as focus groups with specific young adults, including those who frequently engage in sports betting, college athletes, and underage sports bettors. And that will result in some additional reports and deliverables that we'll have available at the end of our next contract year. And this is just an acknowledgement of our team and everyone who contributed to this work. So I'll pause there, see if anyone has any questions for us. We know that was a lot of information.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien, I see that your mute is off.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for that. I had a couple questions. I didn't want to interrupt you at the time. It was earlier on in the slide presentation. You talked about the feedback that targeted ads were resonating. Can you define targeted ads? Do you just mean sports betting ads, or is there something more specific about targeted ads?
Well, I think there's twofold, just to make sure I'm covering all my bases and answering your question. One, that they felt like ads were focused more on young adults and males, just in terms of the colors, the influencers, the celebrities, etc. But that also there were kind of the promotions, the free money. And one thing that we want to dig into more to better understand in this next year, this kind of idea that there were some kind of like on X, for example, posts that would be about sports betting, but not explicitly, and just kind of be focused and targeted on specific populations, but that weren't considered ads per se. So I think we could, that's one of the things we want to kind of dig into and understand a little bit more in the next year, how these kind of more targeted ads, or how these kind of maybe non-explicit free promotion, how those are contributing to sports betting.
Okay. And then you talked about D1 athletes saying they went to events sponsored by betting companies. Do you have more specifics on, advertised on campus, advertised social media? Are the events, where are these events held?
Not more specific, which specific campuses or things like that. Overall, young adults did note that advertising was not prevalent on college campuses, but if there might be certain sporting events that they might see some vendors there, for example, that might be sponsoring or tabling or just have something in the area. So we can definitely ask more about that in our next year to see if we can get more specific information related to that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. And then the workarounds, the use of the VPNs, are they trying to say that gets around the geolocating fencing?
Correct. So that they would therefore
that?
not be geographically in Massachusetts and therefore would be able to bet on sports online.
And they're saying they've had success doing that while physically in Massachusetts.
Correct.
Okay. That's good to know. Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Commissioner Hill.
Yes, I think this is also said at the beginning of your report, which was excellent, by the way, great information. And I look forward to the ongoing questions that will be asked. I think I heard you say that some of the young people had talked about being able to get into operators' websites by lying or, using parents' names, things of that sort. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that particular issue?
Sure. And I think this was stated in the context of both like pre-legalization and also kind of currently for those who are underage, that they would either put in their parents' information based on their parents' ID to be able to be over age enough to bet on sports, use VPNs that kind of change their geographic location, and therefore be able to, even though they're in Massachusetts, they are now not kind of bound by that restriction of 21 plus, or use, I guess, bookies or just other avenues in order to be able to bet on sports while they were still underage.
And of the people that you asked, what percent or how many were able to do that answered your question?
Sure. I don't. We know exactly like through which like how many were using VPNs versus IDs. But what we do know is that of the 39 young adults that we did speak to, 68% of those who were underage, i.e. aged 18 to 20, noted that they had bet on sports previously. So they were currently underage and had bet on sports at some point, either previously or during the time that we were doing data collection.
Did I hear you say 68%?
68, but again, the qualitative. So 68% of the 39 young adults that we spoke to. Yep.
Understood. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Broder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the folks at NORC for this terrific work. So I'm wondering, what a lot of our focus, and reasonably so, has been on the college community activities on, in and around campuses. I'm wondering, to what extent does this study or do studies in general reach, that maybe 18 to 22 cohort that isn't enrolled, that isn't a college student, or maybe it is a commuter as opposed to someone who lives on campus? And how much do we need to worry about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm just looking back at our site. Did we collect on the screener, Jared, whether or not they were enrolled in college?
We did not. It wasn't an explicit screener. If it came up, we noted it down, but I don't know if we have a really good sense right now of that kind of harder to reach group of maybe not university students or commuters. So it's definitely something we should look into.
Yeah, but we do in our kind of current year of data collection, in which we'll be doing focus groups. We do want to kind of focus on specific subpopulations of the young adult populations, of which some are underage sports bettors, of which some are college students, of which some are college athletes. So we could also take into consideration whether or not there might be a need for kind of a group that's focused on young adults not enrolled in college. But I will say, again, they didn't know a lot of advertisements or on college campus. It's more like that word of mouth campus culture because their peers are doing it. They're just talking about it, and it's just part of the lexicon, part of the culture to engage with it, particularly around sporting events.
Now, that makes a lot of sense to me, but it also strikes me, if we're going to try to deliver education or player health supports, whatever the case may be, we might need to be a little bit creative about targeting in terms of making sure we're reaching everyone within that age cohort. Let's say,
absolutely.
If someone's in a university setting, we have hopefully a ready, willing, and able partner to assist in that. Once you move away from that environment, it's a little bit more challenging, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. Thank you.
This is a more generic question because you folks we funded this research, but I know you do related research, some of which presumably is funded at least in part by the federal government. So I'm wondering if your work has been affected at all by some of the recent changes in the federal approach to funding research through colleges and universities.
Yeah, I don't think we have to look into that to kind of speak more specifically. I don't know that we had a lot of federal funded gambling related work. Garrett, do you know of any? I don't think I know of.
I don't believe we were a part of that.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you very much for the work. I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Typically, the federal government has not funded gambling-related research, and it's largely left up to states, which obviously leads to a big gap in understanding of gambling and impacts overall. So thanks so much to the NORC team for taking this up.
So I have a question. Thank you, Mark. Commissioner Berger, did you have anything else on one?
I'm all set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. If there's one thing you would want the Gaming Commission to take away from this and be able to use to develop some policy around it, what would it be? What am I supposed to take away from this great research?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe I'll let Jared weigh in on if he has a different thought. I think the main thing that we heard was the prevalence of the online sports betting and its kind of frequency and accessibility. And it sounds like that could be an avenue of intervention. I know a lot of folks kind of mentioned the interventions related to like the vendors having disclaimers or things like that. And I personally think there might be broader avenues of that than leaving it to the vendors to kind of, moderate themselves on that. But it seems like the accessibility of sports betting on mobile apps, on phones, is something that is contributing to its prevalence, to its kind of constant engagement and increased risk of potential problem gambling. Garrett, did you have anything else to add there?
I was going to honestly say something very similar of just how at the fingertips it is to young adults these days. It's like Uber Eats on their phone, but instead of food, it's just sports betting. And the prevalence of people telling people what to bet on makes people think that it's an investment, not gambling, surely. And I think that mindset can get really toxic really quick, especially when their friends are also doing it. So hearing those kind of findings was a little shocking.
Yeah, particularly if I could add on that, Jared, that kind of disconnect between gambling and sports betting. It's seen as kind of like its own thing, and not necessarily the same as like gambling on casinos or other things that are more closely associated with kind of increased risk.
There's a chance versus skill measurement that's not going on in people's head, it sounds like. And given that you said that, was it 100% of the male participants in this cohort?
Correct.
Speaking as a male, I can tell you that sometimes we think we know something we don't know. That's normal. That's very helpful. Thank you both for that summarization.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Director Van der Linden.
Just a huge thank you to Jared and Petri. I know that you're stepping up in this project and filling a really important role. I recognize that. I really appreciate it. The commission's work and understanding sports betting behavior, specifically gambling generally among this high-risk group is ongoing. We have other projects currently underway. I'll talk about one here in just a few minutes, but we also have a community engaged research project with Suffolk University that is specifically focusing on colleges and universities in the area. So more to come on that. And I am really excited about the next year for this project. And Jared and Petri, I hope the feedback here can help kind of guide some of the conversations, ongoing conversations with the CAB. And we will bring it back next year.
Great, thank you all.
Thank you. All right, Director Van der Linden, you previewed your next item.
I have.
Thank you, Dr. Andrews, too, by the way.
Yeah. So yes, and that project is pending the approval of the Gaming Commission today. So the next item on the agenda is the social and economic research deliverables for FY26. So the FY26 research agenda was approved by the Commission on June 17th of this year. Because we were engaged in a re-procurement, the social and economic research services at the time, the specific topics of study related to broadly social and economic research were not finalized. Following a competitive procurement process on August 5th, almost exactly a month ago, an intent to award letter for the social and economic research was issued to Boston University School of Public Health. We are currently in negotiations with Boston University as the apparent successful bidder, pending the Commission's discussion today and approval of a finalized list of FY26 research deliverables related to social and economic research. I will say BU presented to us a really exciting and yet ambitious set of research studies. And I'm going to talk with you about each one of those today. They proposed to the Commission 3 specific social research projects and 3 economic research projects. The first three aims that I'll talk to you about now are on the social side. The second 3 are on the economic side. So as outlined in your packet in the memo, the first proposes to conduct a statewide representative survey of Massachusetts residents to assess gambling attitudes, gambling behavior, problem gambling in the Commonwealth, and how these attitudes and behaviors changed over time. It's building upon the prior MGC surveys, but specific topics will be added around sports wagering and AI. Aim 2, I'm especially excited about, proposes to conduct and analyze large-scale data survey from a key high-risk demographic, which are college students, college and university students. The data will be collected through the annually conducted Healthy Minds survey to assess gambling behaviors, attitudes critical to this vulnerable population. The large-scale survey of college students, the newly added items in the sports wagering and problem gambling will be examined as key predictors of social outcomes collected as part of the survey, such as depression, anxiety, loneliness, academic performance, and intention to persist to graduation. Just a quick note on that Healthy Mind survey. So while the discussion just before this was a community engaged qualitative survey, this is a much larger, more quantitative type of survey. The Healthy Mind survey is the largest, most comprehensive ongoing survey about behavioral health and related topics in the US. It's fielded each semester at colleges and universities in the US, including 700 institutions of higher education, including community colleges, minority surveying institutions, both public and private. We're really fortunate. One of the key investigators for this project helps lead this survey on a national level, Dr. Sarah Lipson. So AIM 3 will measure gambling advertising exposure and assess the effect of problem gambling behavior. An objective and personalized gambling advertising media exposure or GAME index will be created by merging and analyzing media radar data with gambling behavior from the state representative survey. And just a quick note on that media radar data. It catalogs advertisements aired on cable, streaming, and over television at an instance level. That means that data is structured in such a way that it corresponds to individual ads aired on a particular program at a specific date and time. So that should be a huge asset for us to better understand gambling advertising exposure. So switching over to the economic deliverables that are being proposed for consideration today. Game 4, let me make sure I have the right information. It proposes to conduct surveillance of economic outcomes related to casinos and sports wagering, building on prior research. It will involve tracking trends in employment, income, spending, and other measures over time. Differences by geographic area will be assessed where appropriate, including by city, county, and for casino host cities and surrounding communities. Predictors of variability in these measures will be identified, and key economic ratios over time will be estimated, such as casino employment as a share of local employment, wage differentials between casino and regional sectors, and promotion of spending on gambling relative to total discretionary expenditures. The next proposed study will assess the causal impacts of casinos on county level employment and wages and municipal level government expenditures and revenues in Massachusetts. This study will evaluate how casinos have shaped the local and state economy, including county level labor markets, sector-specific employment trends, municipal finances. The AIM extends the surveillance from AIM 4 using state-of-the-art quasi-experimental methods such as difference and difference, meaning that it will compare communities with casinos with similar communities without casinos for estimating the effect of casino openings and operations in these specific outcomes. And finally, I'm nearing the end here. The final study proposes to estimate the association of sports wagering with financial well-being and social needs using state representative survey, as I discussed in the very first AIM, The analysts will include comparisons across gambling categories, including non-gamblers, recreational, at-risk, and problem gamblers, and an analysis examining the relationship between sports wagering frequency and financial/social outcomes, and assessing whether and how different gambling behaviors predict variation in financial well-being scores and prevalence of unmet social needs. As I said, it's an exciting yet ambitious set of deliverables that the team at Boston University are proposing. When it comes to thinking about the deliverables, if you approve over the first year, a lot of it is sort of setting up the systems and getting it for deliverables to be largely shared in year two of the project. So as I said at the beginning, we delayed commission approval of the social and economic deliverables until after we had selected an apparent successful applicant. We look now to any feedback you have on these deliverables specifically. If there are other deliverables that you think are important, we will go back to the team at Boston University and negotiate those. But I open it now for discussion. And Dr. Andrews, I hope I did okay with that. If there's anything you need to add. Great.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Hill.
I don't have anything to add except to say that I'm okay with the changes that have been proposed, and I know a lot of hard work went into deciding what we were going to do for FY26, and this is just an addition to that. So I have no problem with what's being proposed today and moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. By the way, just so everyone knows, I'm reading packet page 80 and 81 to make sure that I followed those study aims versus deliverables correctly. Commissioner O'Brien, I see your mute is on.
So I just reiterate what Commissioner Hill had. Unless Commissioner Broder has something to say, I'm happy to make a motion.
No, please, I mean, it's an exciting and ambitious agenda, and I'm absolutely prepared to support it.
All right, with that, I move that the commission approve the proposed social and economic research deliverables as part of the FY26 research agenda as included in the commissioner's packet and further discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 4-0.
Great. Thank you so much. We will now proceed with finalizing the contract negotiations with Boston University.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for updating us on that piece. And remind me again who helped on that, which commissioners helped on that.
I'm happy to announce Commissioner O'Brien and Commissioner Hill were both important parts of that procurement team.
So thank you, Commissioner O'Brien, and thank you, Commissioner Hill, for serving on that. All right. Anything else? Well, thank you to Long. Thank you to Dr. Andrews and to you, Director Van der Linden, for that presentation and update. We are now going to turn it to the next agenda item. And for that, we are going to go to item number 5, which is Chief Joe Delaney. Chief Delaney.
Thank you, excuse me, Chair and Commissioners. So today we have for you the second quarter report from Plainridge Park Casino. And we're joined by North Groundsel, Kathy Lucas, and Bob Charette from PPC. And with that, I will turn it right over to North.
Great. Thank you so much. Good morning, Chairman Maynard, and good morning, Commissioners. Are you guys able to see the presentation? Wonderful. Plainridge Park is pleased to present our quarterly update for Q2 of 2025. As Chief Delaney said, I'm joined by Kathy Lucas, our Vice President of Human Resources, and Bob Charette, our Director of Security. Our VP of finance position is currently vacant, so I'll be presenting the financial portions of our update. And with that, I'll jump right into our financials. Starting off with sports wagering, total sports wagering revenue for the quarter was $1,670,953, with $96,248 paid in taxes to the Commonwealth. As you'll recall, second quarter of 2024 was challenged by unfavorable hold in the quarter by NBA and NHL games. That was something that was good for the home team, but not good for us last year. As we look at the next slide on gaming taxes, the casino side of the business did see increases compared to prior year, with net slot revenues of $46,342,475 and total taxes to the Commonwealth of $22,707,813. On the lottery sales were down for the quarter and year over year. Quarter two sales were $615,801 compared to a prior year of $628,352. There were no changes to any of our programming or placement with the lottery this quarter. This is just normal fluctuation. As we look at our spend, qualified spend by state, for Q2, we were at $879,000, and about 58% of that went to businesses located within the Commonwealth. If we break that down a little bit, of the $879,000, a little over 66,000 or 7% went to businesses located within our surrounding communities. On the vendor diversity portion, our vendor diversity goal is 21% of our qualified spend, and we surpassed that this quarter with a total of 24% of our qualified spend. We met our targets in all categories, and we exceeded our goal specifically with veteran-owned businesses. Compared to the prior quarter, total diverse spend was up about 2%, and this chart here just provides the actual spend numbers for the quarter that reflected on the previous slide. So that's everything on the financials. I'm going to pass to Bob. He's going to give you an update on some of our compliance data. Bob?
Bob, I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me now, Commissioner?
We can hear you.
Thank you, North, and good morning to the Commission. As you can see on the slide, a total of 128 people were prevented from entering the gaming establishment in quarter two. 26 of those were minors, 14 were underage, and 74 had either an expired, invalid, or no ID. There was one minor escorted from the food court area and one underage person immediately escorted from the gaming area after attempts by his friends to distract a security officer on post. There were no instances of underage sports wagering or alcohol service. During this 3-month period, there were a total of 14 weapons detected by our system. Unless there are any questions, I'll pass this along to Kathy Lucas to provide an overview of our employment and community relations efforts.
I have just a quick question. Was there an uptick at the start of the racing season?
So I'm not entirely certain, Commissioner. This data was accumulated prior to my arrival here.
What you see there primarily, Commissioner Maynard, with regards to May, is likely a result of Kentucky Derby being a main event there in racing, which draws in a very large and diverse crowd. And it may be their first trip to the property and not knowing that they're not able to access the gaming floor.
Got it. All right. That's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you, North. Commissioners, good morning. I'll be sharing our Q2 employment data. As you can see, right there in the middle, PPC had 455 team members, which was slightly higher than our first quarter. We continue to exceed our diversity goals, with 32% of our team members being diverse, with the goal of 15%. We also exceeded our veteran goal of 2%, having 4% of our team members acknowledge their service. In Q2, 45% of our team members were women, slightly under our goal of 50%, but very consistent with our demographic for this area. Also in Q2, 31% of our team members are locally living, which is also a little bit slighter than our goal of 35%. 65% of our team members are full-time and 35% are part-time, which is pretty consistent. We'll go to the next slide. So on this, you'll see our sportsbook numbers. We had 15 team members, 13% identify as diverse. We currently don't have any veterans, 33% are women, 27% are local, and 53% are full-time. With our supervisors and above, we currently have 85 team members that are on our leadership team. 21% identify as diverse, 4% are veterans, and 31% are women. And we don't have goals for those areas. It's just reflective of our staff. Next slide. So in these few slides, I'll share some of our highlights from Q2. We always start off with our development and where we see our leaders and team members effectively doing the work to get recognition and our investment in creating outstanding leaders. So first I'll share, we delivered our scholarships to two of our team members. You'll see there, Amy and Kyra, their children, their daughters received the Penn Diversity Scholarship, which pays towards their education for their 2-year or 4-year college programs. Next year, you'll see for a National EMS Week, we recognize that's one of our EMTs, Jeff Levitt, for his service that he does as a security officer EMT. You'll see North there recognizing our Penn heroes for the work that they have contributed serving our military branches during our Memorial Day events. We also acknowledge during the quarter our team members who have either graduated from college or high school, and those are our Q2 ACEs of Penn team members of the quarter, and that group always represents the best of the best for us here at the property. Go to the next slide. And so this is the acknowledgement of our engagement of our team and our events and activities throughout the property. It's important that our team members feel committed not only to the property, but also the organizations we support. And so here in the quarter, you'll see, we were just talking a little bit about Derby Day, and you'll see North there with one of our Derby Day activities, and then also the party that we had on the patio, which drew in enormous amounts of patrons who, again, had not been here before, along with our regulars and locals for the sports activity of the day. We also had our PPC Family Day barbecue. That there is Stephen Bradford, our VP of marketing. His family all came in for the event, and it's a great opportunity for our team members' families to see what happens at work. Clearly we spend a lot of time here, and so that's really important to us. We also kicked off our 10th year anniversary in June. There you see Lisa enjoying some of the activities. We had like free Food Truck Fridays and other events for team members, along with some patron activities that we are hosting for our 10th anniversary this year. In Q2, our interns returned to property. This summer, we had 4 interns, 3 in our LEAP, which is our Penn Leadership Program, and 1 in our local program. We had students from Morehouse College, Tuskegee University, which are both HBCUs. And then we also had a student from Penn State University and Frostburg State University. And with their programs, they get to have exposure and experience in all the departments on property to identify what area of focus they'd like to really get into on their second year. And they also get the opportunity to do large scale events like Derby Day. And the event here is Dinner en Blanc, which is a program that our company sponsors in Boston. And then finally, you'll see we have, oh, go back one, North. We also had our Spirit of Mass race, which was great. Another opportunity for us to bring in premier horses for premier prizes and events. And we also use that as an opportunity to fundraise for the American Cancer Society. Now, next slide. I didn't want to leave that out, North. All right, so this is our commitment to our community and the fundraising work and sponsorship work and volunteer work that we do with organizations that align with our commitments to meet either local diversity or women's initiatives. So first, you'll see in Q2, we supported Rolling Thunder. They actually start their ride here in Plainville, go out to Fall River to the Veterans Memorial, and then return. Their purpose is to highlight those still missing in action or prisoners of war and the service recognition in the military branches. The next one is the Tri-Town Chamber of Commerce. You'll see a couple of our team members got the chance to gamble. Of course, it's only for fun. It was at Patriot Place in Foxborough, and that organization raises funds to support the efforts of small businesses and local businesses in our local towns that we support. Christina on our HR team, she's one of our HR generalists. She ran the Boston Marathon supporting the Attleboro YMCA as a representative for Plainridge Park Casino. And we were out there to cheer her at the finish line. And then we also supported during Memorial Day flag placements at a couple of the local cemeteries to support and help the efforts of our veterans organizations. And then finally, we are committed every quarter to the American Cancer Society with making strides in supporting their walk. And I'm super excited to share more in the next quarter because we hosted our Men Wear Pink Sulky Social on Labor Day. So you'll hear more about that next quarter. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to North.
Great. Commissioners, thank you so much. That includes our update for the quarter. It's been a pleasure presenting to you. Thank you for the opportunity to share. We're happy to take any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. When we pull the screen down, I'll go ahead and open the floor. Commissioners, questions, comments to North, Bob, Kathy? Thanks for walking us through it. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
You too.
Take care.
All right. Anything else, Chief Delaney?
That is it for the Community Affairs Division for today.
Thank you so much. With that, the next item on our agenda is item number 6, and that's a discussion regarding collective bargaining. I will have to read some language into the record, but before I do that, I'll make sure there's nothing to say publicly first. ED Serpa or Director Monahan. All right.
Nope.
The Commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining of the SEIU Local 888 agreement, as discussion at an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the Commission. Would we like to enter into executive session for those reasons?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Broder.
Second.
All right.
Second, sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes 4-0. We will return to the public session after this agenda item. All right, I think we can start to take this down. Just give everyone a second to get back. All right. So we are re-entering public session after a robust executive session. And that means that we are turning to item number 7. Good morning, Director Monahan.
Good morning. We have 3 matters for the commission today. The first 2 are a briefing on non-compliance matters, sports wagering non-compliance matters, and requests for the commission to determine how to move those matters forward. And then the third matter is a different item related to a request for waiver from RSM. So if the commission is amenable, I would start by turning this over to Nate Kennedy to discuss the first non-compliance matter.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Kennedy on behalf of the IEB. This matter is before the Commission for guidance on the next steps for the IEB in addressing an instance of non-compliance by Category 3 sports wagering operator FBG Enterprises OpCo LLC doing business as Fanatics Betting and Gaming. The instance of non-compliance involves Fanatics offering wagers on the Peter Yan versus Marcus McGee UFC fight in contravention of 205 CMR 247011, 205 CMR 247012I, 205 CMR 2470311, and the Massachusetts Sports Wagering Catalog, prohibition on wagers being placed on an individual known to represent or promote Russia. Fanatics accepted wagers between July 4th, 2025 and July 24th, 2025. During this time frame, Fanatics accepted 154 wagers for a total stake of $1,806.76. You may know previously the Commission has heard 2 other matters where Peter Yan had been offered by another operator. And just for the Commission's edification, that those matters had been sent back to the IEB for us to handle. But with that, I would seek the guidance of the Commission whether to have this matter sent back to the IEB, set for an adjudicatory hearing, or the Commission may have a civil administrative penalty under 23 and Section 16.
Thank you, Counselor. Commissioners, what guidance can we give Counselor Kennedy?
I think we'd send it back.
I would say the same.
Commissioner Broder and I agree.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you. I would now turn it over to Deandra Franks to address the next matter.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. This alleged non-compliance incident involves Category 3 sports wagering operator Caesars Sportsbook and implicates 205 CMR 247.011, 205 CMR 247.012I, and the Massachusetts Sports Wagering Catalog, which prohibit allowing wagers on unapproved events. Caesars offered wagering on the Maharlika Pilipinas Basketball League, or the MPBL, which is not approved for wagering. The non-compliance lasted from March 2nd, 2023 through March 21st, 2025. During this time frame, 1,897 wagers were accepted for a total handle of $307,359. The non-compliance was discovered by our sports wagering division after it came to its attention that this basketball league is not a FIBA or an International Basketball Federation sanctioned league or otherwise permissible in the Massachusetts catalog. At this point, I'm happy to take any questions, and I'd ask the Commission its preference for next steps as to how to handle this non-compliance. Just as a reminder, the options are to refer it back to the IEB, set it up for an adjudicatory hearing, or issue a civil administrative penalty under Chapter 23N, Section 16. I'd also just like to remind the Commission that I presented similar matters on July 15th and August 14th, which involved other operators offering wagering of a similar nature, and all of those matters have been referred back to the IEB.
Thank you, Counselor. Questions for Counselor Franks? Cheryl
I
O'Brien.
don't have any questions, but I would think we treat them the same. And I also think we also give the guidance to you at that time in terms of, because it went on for such a long period of time, that if there was anything in your review that merited coming back to us, right, that might change how we want to handle it, I'd want to hear about it before a fine recommendation came back. But otherwise, I would say we refer it back to you as well, like we did the others.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. I would refer it back. Commissioner Broder, Commissioner Hill, getting a thumbs up. Counselor Franks, that's what we're going to do with this one.
Great, thank you.
All right. Director.
So our third matter relates to a requested waiver from RSM in connection with the statement of work we have with RSM for our suitability reviews. I think here we have Greg Navaloff and Chris Fitzgerald from RSM to answer questions, but I'll give a brief overview before we get into the conversation. So as the commission remembers, in the statement of work that we have with RSM, there's a provision that says if RSM wants to engage in a contract with one of the operators that they're doing work on, they need to come to the commission for a waiver. So RSM has been approached to do work for one of the operators and has come, first they came to the IEB and we brought that to legal to discuss the work that was requested. And sort of at a high level, they'd be working for an operator to implement a piece of software, so a software system. And we asked a bunch of follow-up questions of RSM about, what the software is, how it will be used, and the long and short of it, in my understanding, and Greg and Chris should correct me if I'm wrong in any way, shape, or form, is that it's really just implementation of the software. So it's taking the software out of the box, making sure it integrates with the systems of the operator, and then sort of ending the contract. They're not helping to create any forms or any documents or any filings that we would be looking at or reviewing as part of our suitability process. Because of that, because it's, in our estimation, a technical engagement, the IEB does not oppose the waiver request from RSM, and we're bringing it here today for further conversation and hopefully decision from the commission. But with that, let me turn it over to Greg and Chris to see if they have anything to add there.
No, thank you for that. I'd just like to thank commissioners and the entire Mass Gaming Commission team for their time today. The project in and of itself is rather straightforward for our firm, where we have a separate team that provide services to assist clients with integration of software. So as Director Monahan had indicated, this is very much a service that RSM provides to many clients. It's a separate and distinct team of professionals, separate from the forensics and compliance team that's been helping the Mass Gaming Commission and the commissioners. And we take these matters very seriously in terms of our own internal vetting for conflicts or potential conflicts. And here in this case, we've established a process over the years we've been supporting the commissioners and the Mass Gaming Commission in terms of setting up a robust framework to screen for potential conflicts and discuss them both internally at RSM as well as with Director Monahan and team, and then escalate through legal as necessary to have these type of discussions. Key aspects of our team include structural separation, also data information segregation. So having separate teams, separate data, and also having legal and contractual buffers with these processes. That includes NDAs and other ways of keeping client information confidential among our teams. And then we actively seek disclosure and discussion of these types of items before moving forward. So in summary, we're presenting this as services that our firm provides. We recognize that a waiver is required in this process, but wanted to highlight the robust framework around these type of matters that both RSM and the Mass Gaming Commission has developed over time.
Thank you, Greg. I'll start off with the first question. We did have a situation over the last couple of years where somebody did straddle that firewall. I'm hearing from you today, but I want to get it clearly on the record. We're not going to have that situation here, right? No one's going to cross the firewall.
That's 100% correct. And I do appreciate you bringing that attention to light. That was incredibly regrettable in terms of the processes that I thought were in place. Personally, I've seen two changes in our team and in the process, as well as the level of detail that goes into each of our discussions with the Mass Gaming Commission's staff, so that there's no confusion with respect to the projects that are coming to our attention, how they're being resolved, who's providing those services on each distinct project, to the extent that any of those types of requests come through other partners within my firm.
Thank you, Greg. Commissioners, questions, comments? I'm good given that assurance, but Commissioner Broder?
Real quick, what is the length of the engagement for this project to come to completion?
It typically, my understanding is, these can last depending on how ready the clients are to begin work, right? There's always delays, but typically, weeks in months, but not years. So you're talking, 3 to 10 weeks typically, but they can extend further and beyond that depending on technical difficulties or issues with configuration.
Thank you for that.
Commissioner O'Brien.
So I had the same question that you did. So given the response that we just got, I'm comfortable being consistent with IAB's position on this as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners. Do we need a formal vote for this? Or was that guidance good enough?
I think we do, just given that it's a contractual arrangement, and I'll defer to Justin here. I do believe Jenna drafted some.
That's correct. There's a vote for you, Chair and Commissioners.
All right. I'm happy to make that motion if we're ready for it.
I think we're ready.
I move that the Commission approve RSM's request for a waiver pursuant to the terms of the existing statement of work between RSM and the Commission, as the work for which the waiver is requested will not create an actual or an appearance of a conflict and will not call into question the integrity of the services provided by RSM to the Commission, as discussed here today, and further that staff be authorized to issue a written determination memorializing this approval, including any conditions as required by the statement of the work or as discussed here today.
Second. Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yeah.
And I vote yes, 4-0. All right. Thank you to RSM.
Thank you.
Any other matters, Director Monahan?
Nothing else for you today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for all your work at the IAB. We're going to turn it over to item number 8, and for that, we're going to go with the Division Chief of Sports Wagering, Carrie Teresi. Good morning still, Carrie.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. We have for you today 3 sets of house rules and 1 update to the approved event catalog. So I will first turn it over to Compliance and Operations Manager Lamb to address the Caesars house rules.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. We have a few house rule submissions to go over today from Caesars. If you turn to page 101 of your packet, we'll first start with the addition of the closed call cashback market. This is a separate market added where patrons can place a wager on a specific action. And if their bet does not win, but places in the top 2nd, 3rd, or 4th place, patrons will be refunded their original stake. For example, if patrons place a wager on Travion Henderson, the New England Patriots rookie running back, to score the first touchdown of the game, but he scores the 2nd touchdown of the game, patrons who selected a wager in the closed call cashback market will be able to have their original stake refunded to them. Currently, this offering has been approved in 21 other jurisdictions. Moving on to football, if you look to page 102 and 103 of your packet, Caesars updated its rules to address how wages will settle in the event a venue has changed. They also submitted minor grammatical corrections on wager settlement language in 4 markets, And if you turn to page 103 to 104, Caesars has added 12 additional football markets, such as opening kickoff to be a touchback, longest receptions, and total offensive yards in a match to their offerings. And lastly, Caesars made a minor change to their football squares market, where they changed the market title from final game to full game. That concludes the submitted additions and revisions from Caesars. Tina Spickerman, Lisa Rankin, and Craig Mucklow are here from Caesars to help answer any questions that you may have. And after thoroughly reviewing the proposed changes and comparing these rules and markets against other operators' house rules, our division finds the updates provides customers with greater clarity and understanding of the proposed terms. Therefore, we recommend approval of these changes today. Chair.
Thank you, Tom. Questions, Commissioner O'Brien?
Yeah, thank you. Tom, a question more for you guys. Is this something new, I assume, to the catalog, not clarifications in terms of betting offerings? And do other operators offer these close call ones as well, or is this a first for this jurisdiction?
No, that's a really good question. To our knowledge, BetMGM offers something that is very similar, but they don't offer it as a market. They actually offer it as a promotional. So for promo runs, and if it's available, they'll offer it. In this case, it's a separate market within the catalog.
Okay. I know I'm probably the only one that thinks this, but at a certain point, like it gets to be into the absurd in terms of trying to get people to bet, and betting on close calls to me just seems ridiculous. But I understand there's nothing unlawful about the request. I would like, I'm sure Mark's not on here anymore, but I would also love to know if this is the type of offerings in the offshore market. Because if it's not even there, I wouldn't be inclined to want to expand the catalog in Massachusetts to go this far. That's just one commissioner talking. In terms of the lawfulness and the appropriateness of it, as you said, Tom, I don't see anything wrong with it in that regard.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Commissioner Broder.
I share your reaction. I think I voiced it once before. Like, honestly, and maybe this is a question for the folks from Caesars, but it's not fair to just them because it's an interesting question. When is enough enough, right? How many options do you really need? We have access to really sports 24/7. When the North American market goes dark, there's plenty of other places to go, and the imagination runs wild. I'm not sure. I think, again, there's nothing unique about that particular bet. I think what I was first triggered when someone brought forward a prop around who's going to score in basketball, who's going to score like 3 3-pointers within 2 consecutive quarters or something like that. And there's kind of no end to it. So I don't know if it's kind of, I suppose, a philosophical question. To the extent anyone wants to comment about it from a business strategy perspective, I'd be interested to hear.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. I can take this question for you, Commissioner Broder. We're always trying to reevaluate the offering and the product. So if a product's not popular within our market catalog, there's no use allocating time and resources on pricing that correctly, and we're always trying to do something a bit more novel and more interesting for our customers. To answer Commissioner O'Brien's question, this is not a promotional market. It's a customer can choose to bet Trayvon Henderson, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry to score first. This gives them the option, if they score first or second, to get money back at a different price. It's just another new market. It's not promotional. I hope that answered your question.
I appreciate the knowledge of the Patriots roster and the potential folks who might for that first.
As a Miami Dolphins fan, I know the Patriots all too well, unfortunately.
Very good.
Hate to see the Dolphins coming up here. Commissioner O'Brien?
So the question I had, but in that scenario, the person's wagering more money to get sort of the backup win, right?
No, they're not, Commissioner O'Brien. If a customer wants to wager $10 on Trayvon Henderson to score first at 7-1, they get paid the full amount. If they want to wager $10 at 6-1 for the insurance for second place, they're still wagering $10. There's no extra charge.
Yeah, oh, there's just the odds that are changing. I see.
Correct.
Okay.
I had a related, unrelated question. Sorry, Commissioner Hill, I saw your mic. How do other books treat the special teams tackles versus the, team game defensive tackle total? Is that something that's strange to us or, unique to Caesars?
I can speak on behalf of my review of the other operators. This is in alignment with what other operators are offering. But that's a good question. Thanks, Short. Excuse me, Chair.
Thanks. All right. Any other questions, comments, Commissioner Hill?
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I move that the commission approve the updates to Caesar's House rules as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes, excuse me, yes.
Aye.
Yeah. I had the same, I had the same hesitation.
All right. We'll save that further discussion for a later date, Commissioner O'Brien, but I think we're all thinking the same things.
Yep.
All right. What's next?
Thank you, Chair Commissioners. Next, I'll turn it over to Compliance and Operations Manager Stefan to handle our remaining 3 items.
Thanks, Carrie. And still, good morning, Commissioners. Next item for your review comes from Fanatics Betting and Gaming, or Fanatics. Begins on page 105 of your packet. Fanatics is requesting revisions to their online house rules. These revisions came to our division on August 7th and are primarily clarification updates and expanded examples for several of their sports. Beginning with the red line on page 107, you can see that first added example in their general rules under their odds boost section. The additional language here really benefits the customer, where if the market has already been determined, the wager would settle as such. And they've given a clear example below for 2 players to hit a home run. This change protects bettors and clarifies grading by ensuring that a successful outcome already achieved would not be taken away just because another leg is later voided. Moving down to football, they've cleared up kickoff and touchdown score markets. And you can see that similar language protecting the bettor's wager with that expanded example under their daily, weekly team specials. And this will be a recurring theme as we move through Fanatics revisions today. This is very similar language with a clear example for the given sport in their daily special section, a language update that really does benefit the customer. And you can see that right away with the single revision to their basketball section under their daily team specials, market giving the example for 2 players to make 2 or more 3-pointers during their respective matches. For baseball, Fanatics has added clarification for highest scoring inning markets. They've also added specific rule set for the MLB All-Star game. And lastly, they did include that similar language protecting the bettor's wager for their daily team specials, using the 2 players that were just previously used in their odds boost example. Continuing with hockey, the single revision, you see that language update again with a clear example in their daily team specials market. For tennis, they've added clarification and clear examples for wagers on specific markets should a player retire during the match. And then moving to soccer, Fanatics has added that language we've seen a few times now with clear examples using the 2 players to score 1 or more goals during their respective matches. For motorsport section, specifically Formula One markets, Fanatics has added clarification that the start of the race is to be considered the formation lap. So any driver in that formation lap is considered to be action. Conversely, any driver that does not start that formation lap will be considered a non-participant, and any wagers on that driver will be void. And then lastly, for cricket, Fanatics has added 6 additional markets such as top batsman, top bowler, total ducks, wides, extras, and team wickets. We are joined again by State Compliance Analyst Chris Mackey, if there are any specific questions for Fanatics on these changes. Our division reviewed these additional markets, examples, and clarification language updates extensively over the last few weeks and found nothing out of the norm or nothing that we haven't similarly approved for other House rules. So with that, we would recommend the approval of these changes today. Chair.
Thank you, Andrew. Questions, commissioners? I'll just state that I understand most of the changes on item number 9 for cricket. I am totally in your debt.
I am not a cricket expert, but if you have any questions on terminology, I can help clear that up too.
Okay. Commissioners?
I did the same thing. I can read with some level of comfort the soccer, but when I get to cricket, I'm absolutely relying on you guys.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hill.
I move that the commission approve the updates to Fanatics House rules as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 4-0. Yes, 4-0.
Okay. Next up, beginning on page. Oh, thanks, Chris from Fanatics, for being on the meeting. So next up, beginning on page 116 of your packet is a House rule revision from Penn Sports Interactive, or PSI, or ESPN Bet. PSI submitted these changes to our division also on August 7th, and they've identified some general rule changes as well as 4 sport-specific sections in need of revisions. For their general rules, they've added clarification to their future section and gave a clear example in which you can see the most passing yards in week 10 market example. Also within their general rules, PSI has provided clearer language when referring to the relevant sports governing body to settle wagers, listing out specific leagues, also stating they will use terms and definitions, official results, box scores, and team or player stats provided by the league. This is nothing new, just adding stronger language to be clearer for their customers. Moving down to baseball, PSI has removed their next plate appearance market and then slightly altered their plate appearance result exact markets, stating that any option not clearly listed will result in any other being graded as the winner. For basketball, PSI has cleared up language for their regular season player prop markets and league leader markets, and providing clear examples for their series or rounds markets as well. They've also added a market in their specific rules for player to record a certain stat in each quarter, with the settlement clarification added as well. For football, PSI has updated a single in-play market for player to score a touchdown on the drive. And then lastly, PSI has also identified cricket as a revision. They've revised their markets for top batsman, top bowler, and markets involving 4s and 6s. Joining us again from PSI is Compliance Manager Seb Gazarian. But again, our division has reviewed these revisions and we find no issue with what PSI is proposing. As such, we would recommend the approval of these changes today. Chair.
Thank you, Andrew. Commissioners, questions? Comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hill.
Hold on just one moment, please. This is for Penn, correct?
It is.
Yep, I move that the commission approve the update to Penn Sports Interactive's house rules as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Broder. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 4-0.
Okay, thanks for being on. The last item from us today begins on page 124 of your packet. This is a recommendation from our division to update the event catalog to include language that would clarify permissible wagering on NCAA collegiate events. To provide some background, in March of this past year, we began receiving inquiries from our operators on whether wagers could be offered on certain postseason college basketball tournaments, such as the Crown or the CBI. These tournaments involve Division I NCAA member schools, but are not directly governed by the NCAA, rather by private third parties such as Fox Sports or the Gazelle Group. Because the NCAA does not govern all events in which its member institutions participate in, certain competitions may fall outside of the current event catalog language, even though it may have been the commission's intent to authorize wagering on these events when the initial catalog was first published over 2 years ago. As the NCAA does not fit neatly into our catalog like other sports governing bodies, such as the NFL, NBA, we are proposing language be added to Section 1 of the Event Catalog Guidelines tab to cover these types of NCAA events. Overall, ensuring clarity for our operators and consistent application across all NCAA sports currently approved in the catalog. The language in the subsection of proposed 1A, I'm looking at page 126 of your packet, sets out specific additional guidelines for offering collegiate events. So to offer a college market, the event must be played by official NCAA rules and use NCAA referees. The match must count towards each team's win-loss record, and the match must be played within a specific period of the season, on or after the start of the regular season and on or before the conclusion of the season or national championship. And that final point is really meant to exclude preseason or practice events such as spring football games or basketball scrimmages before the season really tips off, or similar events. We did meet with representatives from the NCAA, and for the last 6 months, we worked back and forth with them to craft the language in your memo today. One last note, I may have just mentioned this, but the language update would apply to any collegiate sports currently approved in our catalog, not just for basketball. So with that, I'd be happy to help answer any questions you may have. However, we would recommend the commission approve the update to Section 1 of the event catalog for these clarification purposes. Chair.
Thank you, Andrew. Commissioner Hill.
I had taken off my mute button to ask a question that I think was just answered at the end of your comments, which was you reached out to the NCAA, you've had conversations with them. They seem to be okay with what's being proposed.
Yes, that's correct. They help craft the language that we've put together, and they feel, and we agree that they feel that this would encompass all collegiate sports and events, meant to be covered by what was approved in the catalog.
And just for the public edification, we would still continue to be under the NCAA rules that were Mass General Law as well as our regulations.
Correct, yes.
I'll add Commissioner Hill, because I think it's a good point to do it. When I was talking to Andrew, I think this kind of encompasses what at least I, as one commissioner, was thinking when we approved catalog to begin with, when we were thinking about collegiate sports. So I'm glad that we're at least clarifying this, and I appreciate you for bringing it up also.
Yeah, essentially cleaning up to capture what was meant to be captured with this language.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hill.
I move that the commission approve the update to Section 1 of the approved event catalog guidelines to clarify that wagering may be permitted on NCAA events involving Division I NCAA member institutions, even when those events are not directly governed by the NCAA, as included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today.
Any further discussion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 4-0.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right. Chief Teresi, anything else?
Thank you very much. That's all from sports wagering today.
All right. We're going to turn it to legal, and I have to warn Councilor Stempick before we get into this that I'm going to need help making sure I know when to go in and out of executive sessions and private sessions. So because we have a few coming. So with that, where do we want to start, Justin?
So I think with the litigation update here, Chair, this will start with, the starting point would be a vote to go into executive session to have a conversation with the AG's office who are on the call today. And then we come back out and then talk about our next executive session.
Perfect. So let me read some language in. The commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session in accordance with General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss with the Attorney General's office strategy with respect to enforcement or litigation concerning the illegal sports wagering market. Would we like to enter into executive session for that purpose?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Broder.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes 4-0. For the public, we will be re-entering public session. Okay, we can take that screen down. We just finished a robust conversation in executive session, and we're going to have to turn to a different matter in executive session. And so for that, under sub item B, I will read additional language. The commission anticipates that it will convene in an executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, in conjunction with its review of litigation strategy with respect to a MCAD complaint, as discussion at an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the commission. Would we like to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill. That was an aye. Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes for 0. We will enter back into the public session. All right. You can take that down. All right, we just finished another executive session and we are on sub item C. And for that, I'm going to kick it back over to Councilor Stimpik. I believe it's going to Autumn.
That is correct, Chair.
Good afternoon, Autumn.
Hi, good afternoon. So today I'm bringing forward for an initial vote changes to 205 CMR 238, specifically the section regarding the payments to the Sports Wagering Control Fund for expired sports wagering tickets and vouchers. Before I get started, I just want to note the memorandum in the packet today has a slight error on one of the references. The part that says 23N section 1 should read 23N section 13H. I apologize for that and if there was any confusion. The change is pretty simple. When sports wagering vouchers are not claimed after a year, they become expired and the funds are transferred to the Sports Wagering Control Fund. Right now, as the regulation reads, it only allows the payments to the control fund via check. The change I made would allow payments to be made via wire transfer. And there was also a slight change to a citation in section 48.6, where I noticed that the subsection that was cited doesn't exist. So I just fixed that citation while I was already amending it. Any questions?
None for me. Commissioners? I like that you took initiative to change that other section when you saw it. Better to do it in one swoop. Commissioner Hill, your mute is on, but I see your mouth.
Mr. Chairman. I move that the commission approve the small business impact statement and the draft of 205 CMR 238.483 included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today, and further that the staff be authorized to take the steps necessary to file the required documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to begin the regulation promulgation process.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien?
Aye.
Commissioner Hill?
Aye.
Commissioner Broder?
Yes.
And I vote yes 4-0. Thank you, Autumn. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And I think I'm throwing over to Judy next.
Perfect. Good afternoon. You are also on mute, Judy.
I think after about 4 years, I get it, but let's try that again. Good afternoon, Chair Maynard and Commissioners. Today I have one regulation proposed for amendment. It is 205 CMR 146 with specific changes in section 13. Starting on page 131 of your packet, the legal team in conjunction with the IAB's Gaming Agent Division has proposed some cleanup changes and one adjustment to the regulation to increase clarity and allow for an update to a table game layout. So the red line of this reg starts on page 133 of your packets, and I'll go ahead and walk through what's before you. So we've made some cleanup changes to the names of sections within chapter 146. Most notably, we've added reference to 146.28. That's Pontoon 21, which you all will remember was authorized as a new table game by the Commission in 2023. So it appears that the Secretary's office just hadn't gone ahead and added it there. So again, while the regulation is open, just kind of going through and making some cleanups. Moving next to section 13, subsection 3B1 and 2, we've also moved the term or to its proper position so that subsection C is not made accidentally conditional. This doesn't necessarily change the layouts that are existing in the floor. It's more that in our review, we just kind of caught a typo. All three of those things in that section are still shalls and are required on each layout. Lastly, and most significantly, moving to subsection 15, we are removing references to 18. which pertains to additional card draws on a soft 17. Casino regulatory staff has stated that patrons often ask clarifying questions or were a little bit confused by the reference to 18, as it's not commonly seen on table layouts in other gaming jurisdictions. And so as a point of clarity, we've just gone ahead and removed reference to 18. And so the new statement will just reference hard 17s and above. This change overall remains consistent with the authorized rules of the game that are posted online. And if approved by the commission, we'd still get a chance to receive public comment and feedback. And we anticipate going through the process that this reg would come back sometime in November for finalization. Joined by the best in the business, Chief Kane and Assistant Chief Diorio. So any questions you have, we're happy to answer them for you.
All right. Thank you for that setup. Commissioners, questions? I know that Judy did a great job walking us through that. We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Hill.
I move that the commission approve the small business impact statement and the draft of 205 CMR 146.13 included in the commissioner's packet and discussed here today. And further, that staff be authorized to take the steps necessary to file the required documentation with the Secretary of the Commonwealth to begin the regulation promulgation process.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes 4-0.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Burke. Thank you, Dave, for joining. All right, we're going to go to the next item. And for that, it's another executive session. I will go ahead and read some language into the record, and we can decide whether we want to enter or not. The Commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session in accordance with General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A7, and General Law, Chapter 4, Section 726D, to discuss policy positions being developed by an agency in connection with the Responsible Gaming Program agreement between the Commission and the BCLC.
I move that we go into executive session on the matter and for the reasons just stated by the chair.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes 4-0. For the public, we will be returning. All right, I think we can start to pull that down. Give everyone a second to hop on. Commissioner O'Brien, Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Burke. All right. So we just finished another discussion in executive session. We're returning into the public session. And for that, we are going to move to item number 11, which has two matters for us to discuss. And so I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Lightbound. Good afternoon, Dr. Lightbound.
Good afternoon. The two items that are on for today have been previously discussed at two commission meetings, the July 1st meeting and the August 14th meeting. At the August 14th meeting, the commissioners asked for some more information regarding the practical implications of having the restrictions on the simulcasting and advanced deposit wagering. Those responses are in the packet, and as well, we have a new memo from Attorney Nina Pickering Cook from A&K, and Interim General Counsel Justin Stempak has included all of that information, including everything from the previous two meetings in the packet for today. So I'll turn it over to Justin now.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. As Director Lightbound mentioned, we've previously considered this matter at two prior public meetings with robust discussion from all licensees and stakeholders, as well as extensive documentation submitted by everyone involved. We did follow up after the last public meeting to make that inquiry as asked for by, I think, multiple commissioners. Those matters are in the packet. Additionally, as Director Lightbound also mentioned, we had an independent counsel through Nina Pickering Cook at Anderson & Krieger look at the legal issues that we had previously briefed the commission on in the prior two meetings and conduct her own assessment of those. And that can be found starting at page 277 in the letter she drafted in the commissioner's packet here today. So really what's before the commission, and I think everyone is well apprised of all the major issues here today, is whether any commissioner has any remaining questions concerning this issue. And if they do, now's an opportunity to discuss it. And then if everyone is satisfied with their understanding of where everything lies, and then we could tee this up for a motion to move forward. And then moving on to the specific request with respect to the ADW provider at issue.
Thank you, Councilor Stempak. Commissioners, questions or comments? We've been well briefed. I've seen all the letters and emails back and forth. I think I know what I want to do.
Chair, may I speak?
Mr. Marizio, I'll give you a couple of minutes, but I'm going to tell you I have read your arguments very thoroughly. But I will, as respect to you, I will do that.
Thank you, Chair. Should I speak now or?
Please.
Thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, we asked to have a conversation as well with your general counsel and apparently with outside counsel, so that we could explore more deeply these particular issues. And then by doing so, would have a much more direct and simple issue for the commissioners to review. For whatever reason, that was denied. We were never able to discuss any of these issues. And we received your outside counsel's letter as it was published without any conversation. There are perhaps three points I would like to bring to the commission's attention. The first two have to do with the description that outside counsel has made in her letter as to what our position is. It's inaccurate. That we have not said in our letter that we have the right to work with any service provider without authorization from the commission. That's not what we said. And we did not say, and we did not take the position that the commission has no right to limit the number of simulcast signals because there's no law or regulation that currently restricts the commission in that fashion. But more importantly, the legal advice that's being presented to the commission completely ignores the administrative law that we outlined for further discussion in our lengthy memo. Let me quickly bring administrative law to the forefront because that is what is missing here. The SJC, Supreme Judicial Court, of course, everyone recognizes the highest authority in the Commonwealth. And recently in a slip opinion in the case of the Attorney General versus the town of Milton, the SJC went through, in part, its history of administrative law. And the SJC acknowledges its longstanding holding that it's the general court, the legislature, that determines what the public interest is and what the policy will be through legislation. And that agencies only implement the legislature's policy through implementing regulations that have to be consistent with the empowering statute. No state agency creates policy. That's the sole domain of the state legislature, pursuant to Article 30 of the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, that's in our state constitution. So with that understanding of a basic administrative law, one other thing I should say, the SJC held in its January decision of this year, that any regulation, any interpretation of a regulation, any amendment to a regulation that is not consistent with the Administrative Procedures Act is invalid. So what we pointed out to the commission in our letter and asked for further conversation is that the commission is bound by its implementing regulations. The commission cannot ignore its regulations and read a statute and take action based on its interpretation of a statute. The courts interpret statutes. Under the Administrative Procedures Act, the commission is only authorized or empowered, if you will, to interpret a statute when it is promulgating draft regulations for implementation pursuant to the APA. The commission cannot ignore its regulations because to do so, it would be an arbitrary act and perhaps even an unauthorized amendment to its regulations. So what we have said in our letter, consistent with administrative law, is that the commission's account wagering regulations say, and the empowering statute say very clearly, the commission implements regulations on account wagering based on the betting accounts. And the commission has the full authority to approve service providers. And all we have said is that Churchill Downs is already an approved service provider. Our right to engage in account wagering comes from the statute, and all we're doing is using a service provider that is already been approved by the commission. There is no regulation, and the commission is bound by its regulations in section 6.2 that allows the commission to put conditions on our use of a service provider in account wagering that's not within the four corners of that regulation. Now, if the commission wishes to change its hat and put on its simulcasting hat, that's a different issue. It's a different regulatory scheme, and the commission should follow its regulations on simulcasting. And as we've pointed out, under the simulcast regulations, there is no provision which restricts the number of simulcast signals or the hours of simulcasting that my client can engage in. There's nothing there. If the commission thinks that there should be, and we've outlined the statutory scheme why it shouldn't be interpreted that way, but nonetheless, administrative law confines the commission to its regulations. And under those regulations, there is no restriction. If the commission wishes to consider such restrictions, then it needs to go through the APA procedure and change its regulations. Now, again, not to repeat myself, but the legislative history has clearly said that the policy of the legislature, way back when Section 2 of Chapter 128C was enacted, was to give each racing meeting licensee a statutory right to certain minimums. Under Section 8 of 128C, the commission had the authority to issue in its regulations the ability to allow simulcasting that is greater than our minimum rights. The commission's regulations, however, do not prohibit, when it enacted those regulations, it didn't prohibit, it didn't say any restrictions. It did not say that the regulations do not say that, you know, my client or any of the other racing meeting licensees cannot simulcast a greater number of signals or in separate hours other than what they have a minimum right to do under the statute. Doesn't say that. So what we have said is that the commission is not constrained by Section 2, nor is the commission constrained by its regulations. We should be able to simulcast an unlimited number of simulcast signals because there's no regulation that says we can't. And there's no policy from the legislature that says we shouldn't be able to. So that's the summary of it. I appreciate the opportunity to restate that, Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. And again, I'll note that we're in receipt of your arguments. We appreciate you explaining those to us again. And we did have a robust conversation about this on August 14th, as well as other dates. With that said, commissioners, any questions, comments? All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission adopt the recommendations of our general counsel and external counsel, including the understanding of the provisions of MGL 128C Section 2 that speak to simulcasting rights and limitations are applicable to current simulcasting operations of our racing licensees, and that those same rights and limitations be applied to advanced deposit wagering operations by our racing licensees and their partners pursuant to the language discussed in MGL Chapter 128A, Section 5C.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 4-0. All right. Thank you. Dr. Lightbound. There's another matter.
Sorry about that. Having trouble with my mute button. Yep, the next item is the random request to approve Churchill Downs Technology Initiatives Company platforms of Twin Spires and DK Horse as advanced deposit wagering providers in accordance to 205 CMR 6.2. And I don't know if Justin has anything to add to that.
Chair and commissioners, this would be with respect to the request by Raynham to approve Churchill Downs and their operating ADW platforms, obviously subject to the preceding vote, but this would be to respond and approve them in their changeover to working with Raynham if they choose to do so.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
I'm happy to move if we're ready for that. I didn't know if anyone had comments.
I'll just take the note to say that I agreed with Mr. Maurizio's position on this, that they have been approved and should continue to be approved. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so with that, I can Move that we approve Massasoit Greyhounds Association's request for approval of Churchill Downs Technology Initiatives Company and its platforms, known as Twin Spires and DK Horse, as included in the Commissioner's packet and further discussed here today.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes 4-0. All right. Anything else, Dr. Lightbound?
Oh, that's it for racing. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you to A&K. Thank you, Councilor Maurizio, for the background, and we appreciate everyone on this matter. All right. We're going to take some, let's take 13 and 14 out of turn since we're going into executive session. Do we have any commissioner updates? All right. Any other matters that we didn't anticipate? All right. So I'm going to read some language in under 12A for some minutes. I will note to the public that we will not return back into public session after that executive session. The commission anticipates that it will meet in executive session to review minutes from previous executive sessions, as the discussion at an open meeting may frustrate the intended purpose for which the executive session was convened, pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, July 16th, 2024, and August 15th, 2024 at 12:55 p.m. And General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A4 and 7, and Chapter 4, Section 726F. That's August 15th, 2024 at 2:11 p.m. Would we like to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Secretary.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill,
Aye.
Commissioner Broder,
Yes.
and I vote yes 4-0. All right, going to be moved over. Everyone enjoy their Thursday.